It was 11:51 p.m. when my family ended. I was sitting in my quiet apartment in Nashville. My laptop open, my phone buzzing on the desk beside me. I glanced at the screen. The family group chat. A new message from my mother. Sharon. It wasn't a question or the start of an argument. It was a verdict. Jenna, your father and I have discussed it. After all we've done for you, your constant negativity is unacceptable. We've decided you are no longer part of this family. I read the words once, then twice. They didn't spark tears. Just a strange, cold stillness. And then, seconds later, a small notification appeared directly under the message. A heart reaction. From my sister. Morgan. I didn't cry. I didn't ask why. I didn't text back what did I do. I just turned to my laptop, which was already open on the desk. The time on the screen read 11:53 p.m. A strange, cold, calm washed over me. The anger wasn't loud or hot. It was clinical. For my entire life, I'd been reliable Jenna. The quiet one. The one who just handled things. And now, I was handling this. I opened a password-protected spreadsheet, a file I'd kept for years. It was titled Family Accounts. This wasn't a breakdown. This was an audit. 11:54 p.m. I logged into the joint credit card account. This was the card in my name. The one I paid the balance on every single month. The one my mother, Sharon, and my sister, Morgan, used for house expenses and brand supplies for Morgan's budding influencer career. I clicked on Manage Cards. I saw Sharon, authorized user, and Morgan, authorized user. I clicked Deactivate card. A box popped up. Are you sure? I clicked Confirm. I clicked the next one. Confirm. 2 clicks. The first financial support beam was gone. 11:56 p.m. I logged into the web hosting account for Morgan's lifestyle brand. All those premium plugins, the expensive subscription services for her blog, the themes, all billed to my account. Of course. As a business investment, I clicked Cancel Subscription. A different pop-up. We're sorry to see you go. I wasn't. I clicked Cancel immediately. 11:58 p.m. The final step, the most important one, the joint savings account. This was the account where I'd meticulously, quietly saved my money for a decade. My job as a university archivist was modest, but my side work digitizing historical records for private clients was lucrative. I'd built up $72,000. It was joint only because my mother had insisted so she could feel secure. That's the word she'd used. I opened my new private bank account in another tab, an account I'd opened 6 months ago. Just in case, I stared at the balance in the joint account, $72,000. I clicked Transfer full amount to new account. A final confirmation screen. My hand didn't shake. I clicked. The screen refreshed. The joint savings account now read balance $0 and 0 cents. I closed the laptop. The time was 12:03 a.m. I had surgically removed myself from their financial lives in 12 minutes. The apartment was silent, and for the first time in my adult life, so was the feeling of guilt. Now, you're probably thinking that's an extreme reaction. A cold, calculated move against my own mother. But you have to understand, that 12-minute audit wasn't an act of impulse. It was the closing of a ledger that had been open for a decade. For the past 5 years, I hadn't been a daughter. I'd been the silent investor in the business of the family. My job as a university archivist in Nashville is quiet, and it's modest. I spend my days with history, preserving other people's ledgers. But my side work, digitizing historical records for private clients, that's lucrative. And my family knew it. I was reliable Jenna. I was independent Jenna. Oh, Jenna's fine. She can handle it. Jenna doesn't need help. She's so self-sufficient. That's what they called it. Self-sufficient. I now realize that was just their word for profitable. When my sister, Morgan, they decided to become a lifestyle influencer who paid the $3,000 for her brand launch. Not my parents, me. It was an investment. When their Nashville house, the house I grew up in, was on the verge of foreclosure 3 years ago because they'd mismanaged their money. Who secretly paid the back due property taxes, me, I told them it was a loan. But I never saw a dime. Morgan's business trips, the endless dinners, the new clothes for her content, all of it went on that joint credit card. And every month, I was the one who paid the balance, watching my own savings, my own future, get chipped away to fund their present. I'd been the family's structural support beam, hidden behind the drywall, the one they never had to look at, but the one holding the entire roof up. And at 11:51 p.m., they hadn't just insulted me. They had, in their arrogance, decided to fire their only investor. They'd just forgotten that I was the one who owned the bank. This wasn't a breakdown, it was a balance sheet. And for the first time, I was making them pay their accounts due. The fallout didn't wait long. I woke up the next morning, not to an alarm, but to the frantic buzzing of my phone on the nightstand. It was 7 a.m. The first text was from Morgan. It wasn't, "Are you okay?" or "What's going on?" It was pure, unfiltered panic. "Jenna, my accounts are all locked. My website is down. What the fuck? You're overreacting. Mom was just upset. You need to fix this. Now. Fix this." I stared at that line. And it was then I realized the true nature of my sister. It wasn't just selfishness. It was a complete, programmed inability to see a world that didn't revolve around her. That's the core of golden child syndrome. The golden child is praised for just existing, while the other child me is praised only for giving. Morgan's ego wasn't built on achievement. It was built on the attention she received. And now that her primary source of validation and funding was gone, she couldn't compute it. It didn't register as a boundary. It registered as a malfunction. "You need to fix this." Before I could even process that, a voicemail notification popped up. My father, Mark, his voice was heavy, not with sadness, but with deep disappointment in me. "Jenna," he said, his voice gravelly, "I don't know what you think you're doing. Your mother is in tears. She's beside herself. You've created a huge mess. You need to call us and apologize." Now, a huge mess. And that's when the second piece clicked into place. I'd heard that word, mess, my entire life. Jenna will clean it up. Just let Jenna handle it. Jenna's so independent. She doesn't mind. I realized my independence wasn't a personality trait. It was a job description. It's called the parentification trap. The invisible child is forced to become the functional adult, the emotional and often financial caretaker for the entire family. You become the parent to your own parents. And the moment the parent, finally set a boundary, they accuse you of being the childish one, the one overreacting, the one creating a mess. I hadn't created a mess. I had just, for the first time, stopped cleaning theirs up. The final blow came at 9 a.m. A notification from Facebook. My mother, Sharon, had made a public post. It wasn't a private message. It was a performance. It's just heartbreaking when you pour your entire life into your children, and you realize some of them just don't understand the meaning of family. It was perfect. The passive aggression, the public-facing martyrdom, the complete, calculated erasure of everything I had done. She'd cast herself as the victim and me as the ungrateful child. All in one post. I read all 3 messages, one after another. Morgan's demand, Mark's guilt, Sharon's public performance. Not one of them asked why. Not one of them said I'm sorry. They weren't shocked by what they had done. They were just shocked that I'd finally sent them the bill. Any guilt I had was now gone, replaced by a cold, hard clarity. This was no longer a family dispute. It was a financial separation. My mother's Facebook post. My father's guilt trip. My sister's demands. They weren't apologies. They were tactics. They were just different forms of leverage to get me to fix this and turn the money back on. I realized I couldn't handle this alone. They were treating this as an emotional drama I'd started, and I needed to reframe it as the business transaction they had been running for years. So I made a call. Not to my aunt, not to another family member. I called my old college friend, Jessica. Jessica wasn't just a friend. She was a family law attorney, one of the sharpest in Nashville. When she picked up, I didn't cry. I didn't vent. As an archivist, my job is to present history, not to be emotional about it. I laid out the facts with the same precision I'd use to catalog a historical document. I said, Jessica, I need to hire you. At 11:51 p.m. last night, my family officially disowned me via group text. At 11:53, I began a financial separation. I'm calling you to finalize it. There was a long pause on the other end. When Jessica finally spoke, her voice was flat, cold, and absolutely furious for me. Jenna, she said, this isn't a family drama. This is, from what you're describing, systemic financial exploitation. And that Facebook post, that's libel. Hearing her put legal terms to what I had always just called my life was validating. It was like a doctor finally giving a name to a disease I'd been told was all in my head. So what do? I asked. We don't send texts. We don't make calls. Jessica said, and I could practically hear her opening a file. We send a formal notice. We elevate this from an argument to a legal proceeding. You've been their bank. Jenna, it's time to send the final itemized bill. I gave her the login to my family account spreadsheet. She was quiet for a few minutes. Just the sound of a keyboard clicking. My God, she said. The $3,000 for Morgan's brand, the property tax payments, Jenna. This is thousands of dollars. Not even counting the credit card bills. I know, I said. I just let it happen. Not anymore. Jessica said, I'm drafting a formal notice of financial separation and a demand letter. We will tally every documented loan, and yes, we are calling them loans, and demand a repayment plan within 30 days. This isn't a fight about feelings anymore. Jenna, this is a legal battle. And they have no idea what they just started. When I hung up, I felt something new. It wasn't just calm. It was control. Jessica called me back a day later. The confident, angry energy from our last call was gone. Her voice was different now. It was flat, cold. Jenna, she said, and she didn't wait for me to respond. I was digging into your family's financials, as we discussed. I started with that inheritance you mentioned, the one that started your savings. Yeah, I said, my great aunt. She left me $10,000. It's what I built the $72,000 from. That's what I wanted to talk about. Jessica said, I pulled the full probate court documents. Jenna, your great aunt didn't leave you $10,000. I frowned. I don't understand. I saw the check. I deposited it. She left you $50,000. Jessica said, the air in my apartment went still. What? No. That can't be right. I would have known. My parents gave me the check. It was $10,000. I know. Jessica said, because I found the bank record for the other $40,000. A single withdrawal. 3 years ago. Just after the inheritance cleared probate. I sank down onto my couch. They told me the 10,000 was all of it. They said the rest of her estate was just debts. They lied. Jessica said, her voice turning hard as steel. But that's not the worst part. I got a copy of the withdrawal slip from the bank's archive. It required your signature, Jenna. I've seen your signature on your university contracts, on the documents you signed for me. This one from the bank. It's not yours. I said the word out loud, but it felt like ash in my mouth. It's forgery. It's forgery, she confirmed. It's a clean, obvious felony. Your mother's handwriting. From the Facebook post you sent me, it's a damn near perfect match. I sat there, holding the phone, and I realized something. I had been grieving the loss of my family. I had been angry about the exploitation. But this was different. This wasn't a family dispute. This wasn't taking me for granted. This was a calculated criminal act. They hadn't just taken my money. They had stolen it. They had forged my name and stolen my future. My great-aunt's legacy, and looked me in the eye for 3 years while I saved every penny I could. All while they were spending the $40,000 that was rightfully mine. The last thread of sadness I had, it didn't just break, it vaporized. It was replaced by something cold and heavy and absolutely clear. This changes everything, I said to Jessica. Yes, it does, she replied. This is no longer a civil matter. Jenna, we are now in criminal territory. The demand letter for the loans is one thing. This is the kill shot. The forgery charge was the kill shot. It moved everything from a negotiation to an execution. The bank's fraud department, once alerted, moved with terrifying speed. The demand letter from Jessica, backed by the threat of criminal prosecution, wasn't a request for repayment. It was a surrender document. A week went by in silence. No more angry texts. No voicemails. No Facebook posts. Just a heavy, suffocating quiet. I knew they were drowning. I knew the entire hollow facade of their Nashville lifestyle, a lifestyle built on my secret contributions and my stolen inheritance, was collapsing. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon, there was a knock on my apartment door. It wasn't a polite tap. It was a frantic, desperate banging. I looked through the peephole. It was my mother, Sharon, but it wasn't the woman I knew. The public-facing, perfectly put-together matriarch was gone. Her face was pale and swollen, her eyes red and wide, with a terror I'd never seen before. I opened the door. She practically fell in, grabbing my arm. Jenna? She sobbed. And the sound was raw. Jenna? Please. You have to stop this. You have to call them off. I didn't say anything. I just stood there. My arms at my sides. They're talking about liens. She stammered. They're talking about your father. Mark could lose his job. They're going to. We're losing the house. Jenna, you're ruining us. After everything we did for you. I waited. The old guilt, the familiar ache to fix this, just wasn't there. Please, she begged, her voice dropping to a desperate whisper. If not for us, think of your sister. This will destroy her. Her brand is everything she has. You can't do this to Morgan. Even now, even at the absolute end, facing total ruin, her first thought was to protect the golden child. Her plea wasn't for forgiveness. It was for me to go back to my role as the silent investor, to once again set myself on fire to keep them warm. I looked at her. This woman who was my mother but felt like a stranger. You're right. I said, my voice quiet and calm. I should do something for my sister. And for you. A pathetic flicker of hope lit up her tear-soaked face. You will. You'll fix it. I turned, walked to my desk, and picked up a single piece of paper. It was a copy of the final notice from the bank. The eviction notice for their house, triggered by the bank's fraud investigation into the forged check. I handed it to her. She looked at it, her brows furrowed in confusion. And then her face crumpled as she read the words, I already did. I said, this finalizes everything. Goodbye, Sharon. I gently took my arm from her grip, and I closed the door. The resolution was fast, clinical, to avoid criminal charges for the forgery. My parents agreed to an immediate, forced sale of the Nashville house. There was no negotiation. There was no appeal. It was just over. The house sold at auction. The stolen $40,000 plus interest and Jessica's legal fees were wired to my account. Morgan's brand, with no funding and no home base, collapsed overnight. I didn't stay to watch the aftermath. I took my original $72,000 and the recovered funds, and I left Nashville. I drove east, toward the mountains, and I didn't look back. I bought the $70,000 cabin in the Blue Ridge Mountains, a small, quiet place built of wood and stone, surrounded by silence. My first night there, I sat on the porch with my laptop. I opened that old family account spreadsheet one last time. I looked at the long list of debts, the transfers, the tax payments, the numbers that had defined my value for a decade. Then I moved my cursor to the file, and I hit delete. That night, as I sat there listening to nothing but the wind in the trees, I finally understood. We're all so terrified of being alone, of cutting the blood ties that are supposed to define us. We're taught that family is everything, that walking away is the ultimate failure, but sometimes holding on is the real failure. Sometimes the bravest and most honest act of self-love is to admit that the people who were supposed to be your home are, in fact, the cage. Severing a toxic bloodline isn't an act of cruelty. It's an act of profound self-preservation. It's not a breakdown. It's a rebirth. I didn't lose a family. I just finally, after 29 years, escaped a trap. And for the first time in my entire life, I was home.